2000.
Oh. Oh. This is tricky business.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to set my tolerance levels differently to what they are at the moment.
What do you mean tolerance levels?
Well, I think I don't know whether I'm too tolerant or not tolerant enough to these films that we've been watching.
What, the Black Sack movies?
The Black Sack films, yeah. I feel like on one hand they're only B movies and we should give them a lot more leeway, and on the other hand I think they're just terrible shite.
Okay, well I built you, so do you want me to take a look and see what I can do?
If you
do you want less tolerance or more tolerance? What would you prefer? Do you want to have more tolerance so you can have, more movies to watch, or do you want to just not watch them at all and have less tolerance and be angry?
I think they deserve less tolerance.
Less tolerance?
Yeah.
Less tolerance, okay. What tools have I got here? Okay, right, let's have a little look here.
I hate everything! I hate it all! I hate that! And I hate that!
Alright,
and I hate
calm
this!
down. Calm down. Tolerance.
Yeah!
Be fine, Will. Oh God. What have I done? Oh, okay. I haven't been in here in a while. God, I don't need that. Oh God, what is this? When did I put that in there? Oh Jesus Christ. What is the problem with you? Oh, I see it. There we go. See if I can reboot you.
Woo!
How are you feeling?
Well, pretty tolerant.
Pretty tolerant?
Pretty tolerant.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a pretty bad thing at the moment because you have no tolerance. Your tolerance resistor was burnt out.
Okay.
So it basically means you're now tolerant to everything. Would you
That seems reasonable.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well I do have a resistor here if you want to be less tolerant.
Yeah,
but
chuck it in.
Well,
Just
I think
chuck
we
it
need
in.
to test out your tolerance levels in this state first.
Okay.
With a movie from the Black Sack.
Good idea.
Alright.
Let me zip up.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, if you don't like this movie and you want to be less tolerant, I'll put this one in, okay?
Cool, yeah.
Alright, so...
I think it's your turn to choose, so let me give me...
Is it my turn?
Yes, your turn to choose.
Oh, okay.
Right. Round and round the Black Sack goes. What are you going to pick out? Nobody knows.
Alright, let's have a look.
Don't
Wait.
look. That's not
Alright.
the point of the Black Sack.
Okay.
Don't you dare pick out that fucking Creature Features 2 again.
I'm hoping I don't.
Woo!
I'm really rustling in there. Feels like there's like 2 DVDs in there.
Yeah, Creature Features
Wait.
1 and Creature Features 2.
Oh, I see. There's a whole pocket of them at the back, right? Okay, I've got one.
Okay, ready? 3,
Please
2,
don't be creature features.
1, go.
Timeline. Yes. All right.
I've
with Paul
never
Walker.
even heard of this. Oh, really? Wow.
Based on a Michael Crichton book.
Yeah, and it's got. I like this already. 'Cause it's got
I
a
thought
bow
you
and arrow on the front.
Okay, so we're going to watch Timeline.
Yeah.
I have never seen this film.
Yeah.
I have the book and I've never read it. So,
Okay, cool.
So let's. But I know what it's about.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what it's about?
No.
Okay, let's go watch
Let's
it.
go watch it. Here you go.
Right. So, Timeline. What was the plot of Timeline?
Wow. Well, the timeline was extremely coherent and good because this was actually a film.
It's actually a movie.
So, a group of archaeologists excavating French ruins from the 1300s find lots of weird things about this castle and whatnot. Then, for some reason, Billy Connolly has to disappear for some reason.
Well, who is Billy Connolly?
Billy Connolly's the head archaeologist.
Yeah.
They find a note from him from the past.
Yeah, inside the tomb.
Inside the tomb they find a note from him. And this tomb hasn't been open for like 700 years. They then fly to America to ask this strange group of people where this guy's father, who's also the head archaeologist, is.
You're making it sound less coherent.
I know. It's basically
a group of archaeologists
travel back in time to try and save the head archaeologist,
who's trapped in the 13th century. In a very specific time frame. Yeah. Okay. So this film's based on a book by Michael Crichton. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Which just so happens to be lying right here.
Ooh.
Which is I own this book.
Yeah.
But I've never read it.
No.
Because I have to be a completionist with my Michael Crichton works, right? But I did know the basic plot before we went into it. And the reason I chose this film to go into the Black Sack is, one, I'd never seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard really no one talk about this. But that said, I've never looked up anyone talk. I've never looked up timeline reviews. And I figured it might be a film that you might like, considering...
And I'll tell you what, I loved it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I think the first act, right?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't enough explanation of the science in the film.
No, they glossed over a lot. They glossed over
a lot of it. It was like, here you go. Here's a time machine that can teleport you to this very specific part of France, where you just happen to have been excavating loads of stuff.
Yep, and on a specific date.
Yeah.
Because we later find out that they've been secretly sending loads of people back to that date.
But we don't find out why.
We don't really.
Yeah, we didn't. That's another fault.
Unless we have to watch it again and start to look for like the subtleties in why they're going back. Yeah. I don't quite understand why. Maybe there was a line of dialogue when we were joking around.
Yeah, we did joke around a lot. We'll get all the faults out of the way, and then we'll talk about how awesome the rest of it was.
Yeah, right? The thing I didn't like the most was the flash white cuts.
Yeah.
Like during the cutting between.
I didn't like them, but I thought they were in place.
Yeah, with the future and the past, it kept going whoosh, like white, and then it would cut back, but it would happen like really unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Like, not that you would have to know that the change in scene is coming, but it felt quite jarring. It never quite felt like it.
Yeah. One time it worked. Felt really in your
jarring.
Face, didn't it? I think another fault of it is the fact that they're back in time, and suddenly, because what happens is this magical machine that they've developed and that they introduce really quickly, so you have no idea how it works, and they don't tell you how it works, they don't tell you how it gets back, they just tell you that you can get back using these
via a wormhole
that you use with these tiny little devices, right? Now they've got 6 for some reason I have no idea.
This video hasn't seen it's going to be like tiny little devices. What?
Yeah, for some reason, and I still don't quite get why, apart from to move the plot forwards, they have 6 hours to get back. I don't understand that part. Right?
Okay, we're going to get into time travel here.
This
is where time travel in movies rarely works at all. Because
unless the only reason I can think of is that the battery power in these devices only lasts 6 hours. Which could be a possible...
I think they might have mentioned something like that. They only have a limited amount of power in them. I think that is what it is.
Yeah, okay. But well, that would make sense. But the thing is,
But the thing that doesn't make sense...
is the fact that... if I explain this and you explain this... So, they're in the 1300s, right?
1357?
1357 or 1375, I can't remember.
Let's have a look.
1357, because that guy lives to 1389 or something like that. But...
it does not say it just says 14th
So
century.
they're told that they can press this button on this device, this little necklace thing, and that will transport them back to the teleporting time machine. Now,
in the present.
Now, in the present, obviously, because the dinosaurs have to escape, right?
As I said.
As Jack said, the
dinosaurs
have to escape.
There has to be something to go wrong.
So it goes wrong at the base, and the machine messes up and gets destroyed. Now,
well, just for a little bit of context, it gets destroyed because as soon as they travel back in time to medieval, one guy gets shot with arrows, and they're told specifically not to take any modern technology back with them. And one guy secretly harbours a grenade on him, and when he gets shot with an arrow, which is a pretty cool scene anyway, because you see the guy, one of the knights or arrowmen, like fire an arrow, and it goes back. It goes through time, and they watch him in the future. An arrow appears in his chest, but then he drops a grenade, and that blows up the machine. There you go. So the machine is destroyed in the future. So they're essentially trapped in the past.
Yeah. So
we think.
So what? They compress this button, and then they get shifted back to where the machine is, right? Mm-hmm. So surely, from what we were
it's like a recall button.
From what we were saying. And it wouldn't matter when they end up fixing it, as long as it's within that 6 hours, because they can press the button and return to that machine any time, and it doesn't matter when in time that machine is, they will return to it.
That's our theory, isn't it? Yeah.
So our theory is they could just press that button whenever they wanted,
and it would have just sent them back.
Because their two times aren't running simultaneously. One is in the past and one is in the future, so it doesn't matter how far in the future that machine is. They can press the button and go back, which would also work retrospectively as well, because surely it would be that whenever they press the button, before the time machine was destroyed, they would go back to it. So for that time, time
period, they could go back to it as long as the machine is running at some point in time.
As long as the machine is active at one point in time, they'd be able to go back to it no matter what.
Exactly.
And the only thing that I can think of that it wouldn't is because. When they set that, well, it's a plot device to start off with, but when they set that timer to go, for some reason, and this is what I don't, and this is I don't get it. For some reason, they are linked by that 6 hours.
Yeah,
and I don't know why, because surely no matter when you are back in time, as long as that machine still exists, unless there's some sort of signal or code, but then they'd have to transport it through time. And the wormhole.
They basically needed the wormhole to be open. So this machine, as far as I remember, them explaining it, they said the machine accidentally tapped into this wormhole.
Yeah.
They somehow connected this. Basically, the machine was a teleportation device. They were transporting apples from point A to point B across America, and in doing so, they transported an apple. It never appeared on the second platform, and then it reappeared on the first platform after a certain amount of time. And they said they didn't know where the apple was, but they sent a camera to the same thing, and they pointed the camera up at the sky so they could look at the stars, and that's how they knew that when and where it was. So they knew it was in the 14th century in France, April 4th specifically.
Yeah, specifically.
This night where the French are going to attack the English at this French castle, right? Yeah. But in doing so, in transporting this apple from A to B, that is how they tapped into the wormhole. So not maybe. As long as the machine is working with the wormhole, it doesn't matter when they press.
I think maybe it's because they turn they can activate the wormhole, and then once the machine stops, it's deactivated. So maybe they've just got a 6 hour window to get in and out of it. But I
can tell you exactly why this is wrong. It's just a plot device, right?
Yeah.
They're not over. I put my trust in Michael Crichton's book. I might have to read this to obviously to check. I'm pretty sure he'll explain it a lot better in the book than what they did in this film, right?
Yeah, so I think as long as that, because we've established that people have been going backwards the same day over and over again, surely, I mean, there's only so many, there's only 4 times in a day that 6 hours can appear. So as long as they have put somebody back there from between midnight and 6 a.m., 6 a.m. and 12 noon, then 12 noon to 6 p.m. and then 6 p.m. to midnight, as long as they've done that once for one day, that wormhole is open the entire time. Essentially. And they said that
unless they've specifically made these little necklaces to specifically go back to a date. Because the reason I'm thinking that is because they choose to press the button as right near the end of the film as the swords are swinging. And they appear at the moment they fix the machine. And it's like, why didn't you just press that button at any point and you would have just gone back to where the machine was fixed?
Or not fixed, I don't know.
No, it wouldn't have appeared if the machine was broken. They just wouldn't have appeared.
Yeah, but they'd have appeared before the machine was broken.
No, they had the heads cut off. They'd have been pressing it, going, it's not working.
Yeah.
But the point remains is, it doesn't matter when they press the button in the past, they would have gone to the point where the machine is fixed, regardless of anything else. Now, what I loved about this movie...
Oh, there was lots I loved about it.
Right?
Loved about this film.
I was worried, because I knew the story was a team of archaeologists get trapped in the... I didn't know they were trapped, but I knew they travelled back to the 13th century, right? And then they had to work out how to get back to the future. That's all I knew about the story, right?
Marty!
I was assuming that it was going to be like this kind of quasi-goofball action movie, judging by the cover, but like this like them trying to fit into the society and the language barrier and all that sort of stuff. But this film was pretty much fighting and people killing each other non-stop.
All the way through. And really
as soon as they went back in time, there was like 5 deaths instantly.
With really quite good costume design and fighting, and I mean some of it might have been a little bit off, but that you don't really notice and you don't really care because
it felt grounded.
It felt quite grounded, and all the way through you're like, awesome medieval stuff, brilliant.
And what was great was like the medieval people, like the knights and stuff. They felt it like intimidating.
Yeah, they
felt like
horrible.
you didn't. They were just horrible. They were just killing people left, right, and centre.
This definitely wasn't a. It slightly did it, but it definitely didn't romanticize medieval warfare.
No,
it made it look horrible.
It definitely didn't romanticize medieval houses
or people
or prisons.
Yeah,
because those they see that there's straw roofs at one point when they get captured, and they're just like, we'll just climb out the roof, and they do. They just pull the straw apart.
And then it's like Gerard Butler's character runs into another room to save to save the woman, Lady Claire, who's the main, or one of the main sort of heroines of the film. And he's like, I've come to save you, and she's already hacking a hole through the wall. It's only just plaster and sticks, and she's like, "One, get out!" It's like they've made any building in medieval times. You can just tear apart with your hands, because at the same time as they're trying to tear through this plaster wall, there's another guy hacking the door apart. And it's just like, what these? It's like the Three Little Pigs made this house. It's like,
well, actually,
not the brick one.
So I'm thinking that like maybe these medieval people didn't realise how flimsy their houses were, but only the future people.
Yeah.
But Lady Claire did.
Yeah, but it's also like if one of us, like if anyone from nowadays were to actually go back in the past, would have so much more knowledge and be so much more learned and probably healthy.
You'd be able to burst through walls like the Hulk. Because they'd think, look at how strong our walls are, and it's like.
So you go through a wall and you just open it like a door. You
just open the wall like a door, just grab a load of the plaster.
Now, the standout part in the film was the siege, and it was
when
epic.
The French were sieging a French castle that was overtaken by the English.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I don't think I've seen a siege like that in any film. Like the not even overuse, the great use of trebuchet shots and arrow shots. The only thing I regret about this film is that there's not more of it. Like you see one volley of arrows, then another volley of arrows, and that's it. And then it's
the night arrows.
And then that's the night arrows as well as the second volley, which is cool. Which I don't.
They were all using fire on the arrows, which I think was used in order to like you hit someone with a fire arrow, sets them on fire. You're like, that guy has definitely been taken out.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see them, and you can see your enemy if you're lighting up where they are.
I'm not entirely sure.
Especially
I'd have to read up about my medieval siege history, but I'm not entirely sure that they used fire arrows to set people on fire, because I don't think it worked like that. They said they used it to set buildings on fire, but I think it would be more to see range. So like you set your arrows on fire to see where they're going, because you can't see where they are.
And to be honest, when they had the shot of the English coming up the castle walls, and then the camera pans over the wall and you see the French all down there, they've got loads of bonfires going.
Yeah.
So you can see them anyway. Like, there they are. Yeah. But those fires were there for the trebuchets, because they were lighting using that fire to light the boulders.
Also, you have to you have to see the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you do have to see the film, and it was cool visual seeing all the arrows hit each other in the air and stuff like that.
That was pretty cool.
I thought what I liked about the siege scene was that it didn't feel overblown.
Yeah.
It felt like a kind of realistic amount of people.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of people there, but it didn't feel like it was doing it for the grandeur. It did it for more like the gritty, real feeling of it. There was one point where they were using fire, and it was a plot point because Billy Connolly's character he was forced into saving his own life by promising the English king
Greek fire,
which
I think it was just a lord. I don't know if he was a king.
a fire which, when it hits, it's like this oil stuff that's quite very flammable, and if you pour water on it, it expands the fire further. So like they fire at the French during the siege, and you see as a test, and you see the fire going off, and then all the French are like pouring water over, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I thought that was really cool. I was like, that there's like a use for the fire in the scene, regardless of historical accuracy.
That was pretty cool to see how they done that effect as well. I bet they were probably just pouring petrol on that fire thing, so it's getting bigger and bigger. But I'd have to look up whether or not Greek fire is an actual thing. Probably
I believe it is. Yeah, and it probably was used in warfare, but not back then. They didn't establish though, because they were so worried about giving the English the Greek fire. They were like, oh, we're going to be changing history here, but then obviously all the English basically got slaughtered, so it really doesn't matter. Yeah, I guess.
I think the point is that
they changed a lot in history.
Well, I mean,
no, they didn't.
They didn't.
So this is time travel again.
This was the point. This was the point. I think one of the sort of subtle points of the film was maybe if you go back in history, you're always meant to go back in history, and therefore any events that you've already tried to change haven't actually changed because you changed them in the first place, which means that they're still the same when you get returned.
So basically what Will is referencing there is Gerard Butler's character finds a sarcophagus at the beginning of the film, and there's these two lovers engraved in the stone, and he's like, look at how beautiful this is. They died together, they're holding hands.
Later
on in the film,
one of them's not got an ear.
One of them's not got an ear. Yeah. He gets his ear cut off when he's back in time, falls in love with this lady, and then realises it's him. Yeah. And he was like, it's me!
Well, no, it's me! It's the other way around. So he falls in love with the lady, and then he gets his ear cut off during the middle of a battle, and then he just stands up and goes, it's me! It's me!
In the middle of a fight. But then he wins the fight.
Well, I mean, he knew he wasn't going to die, so he could have done anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I like the romance in the film in that regard. I didn't really care for Paul Walker's romance with that Kate, the lead lady.
They almost didn't need to be there.
Not particularly, no. I mean, no disrespect to Paul Walker, but he didn't really bring too much to the film. I thought Gerard Butler was more of a main character.
I thought it could have just been him.
It could have just been him for the most part. But then Paul Walker was there he was like tied to his dad, Billy Connolly, which started this whole thing off. But he could have had that anyway. You could have had someone. Yeah. You could have had the scientist who chose not to go back in time. Yeah. Who stayed to help, be the one whose father was lost. Yeah. But he's too afraid to go back, and then like.
Well, he can't go back because like they could have written it in like, oh, you've got a
metal
pin, you can't go back.
Or he's got like a missing leg, and he's got a prosthetic leg or something. So he's like, you're gonna slow us down. Yeah. And then Gerard Butler's like, I'll go save your father. Yeah. And then he ends up staying there but rescuing the father at the same time. That's what you should have done. No.
I really like that it's obvious in this film why they don't have any English main characters, right? Yeah. In the good group, right? Because it's obvious that they couldn't send an actual English person back because they would be like, I'm English to the bad guys, the English bad guys, and the English bad guys would be like, okay, cool, you're English, you're all right,
come with us.
Yeah, come with us. Or oh right, we trust you then. So everyone in the film had to be either Scottish, one guy was French,
which is the worst thing
to be in this film, and the other two people were American, but that was never called upon. That was never called upon by. They were like, oh, you've got a Scottish accent. Oh, you've got a French accent. No,
and then one guy speaks in American.
One guy speaks in a US accent. And not one time in the film does an English person for them go, you're speaking like an English person, but your accent's weird. Why?
Yeah, and then he'd be like, I'm American.
Not saying that accent's weird. That's a Scottish accent. But not saying that US accents are weird, but to them back in that time it would have been a completely new accent.
In 1375, the America that we know didn't exist. The land did. Yeah.
Well, it was a completely different type of people that lived there. It wasn't the US,
so there wouldn't be the American accent as Paul Walker has.
But to be honest, it wouldn't have been the absolute because they were speaking modern day English and probably modern day French as well.
Pretty much.
So that wasn't accurate whatsoever. Because
there was a few. We're giving this film high praise for accuracy, but there was a lot of inaccuracies. Like when they fired the arrows and they were like fire, which don't think they said. You reckon they said like?
I reckon they would have said
Release
loose, but I mean,
loose?
he said release in the film at the end, which is probably more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than fire.
But I mean, I don't think you can begrudge the film too much, because if they were all speaking Yoldy Britishy, oh my lord,
Yeah.
doth duck your headeth and move asideth, because an arrow might strike you and stricken you down to the lowest depths of hell.
There doth be an arrow in your bottom, sire.
in your butt, sire.
But they did address the language barrier between Gerard Butler's character and Lady Catherine, who there's a point where
But she speaks really good English. Lady Claire.
Lady Claire, sorry. But the thing is, they have this scene where they're both speaking in English to each other. Like she's got the French accent and everything, and he's got the Scottish accent, but they just don't understand each other.
But it's not because they don't understand each other's accents, because they don't understand each other's terminology.
Yeah, they don't know what they're really talking about.
So what he says, are you with anyone? Implying that he liked her and he wanted to be with her in a relationship kind of way. But she was like, yes, I'm with you, because he was literally there.
Yeah,
and then he was like,
I like that scene.
And, yeah, it was really good. And he was like, are you seeing anyone? She looked up and around and was like, I don't see anyone. And it's because that terminology probably wasn't used. But then she sort of turns around and just puts it really plainly like, are you married?
Yeah, which
no.
I think he kind of smiles at one point when she says that, because he thinks that's
what
I probably should have asked.
I should have just asked that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a pretty good film, and it's one of the few Michael Crichton adaptations to film that I haven't seen. I think The 13th Warrior is another one, and which was a book he wrote called Eaters of the Dead, which I believe is a zombie Viking story, but I could be completely wrong on that. But yeah, I enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know where it will rank on our scale of like movies we've pulled from the black sack, but how's your tolerance, Mia? Because
I don't think I needed to tamper with it, to be honest, because I loved it. I really like this film. Yeah. I think out of what should we do? Trebuchets?
How many trebuchets would you give it out of 10?
I mean, so I just need to ask a question about this scale, right?
Yeah.
Are we basing it on 1 to 10 of the movies that could be in the black sack, or 1 to 10 of how we rate all films ever?
I'm just rating it how good out of 10.
Okay.
I
would say
enough to do with ranking. I'm saying this is below The Gate.
Really? What did we rate The Gate?
How many dead dogs?
How many dead dogs?
I gave it like something out of like 9 or 8 dogs out.
I was going to say this film was probably about a 7 or an 8 for me.
It's a 7 for me.
Okay.
Definitely a 7. Solid 7. The editing let it down.
Yeah.
And some of the acting in parts.
Yeah. And some of the actual bits of the plot that weren't explained.
But then the whole siege battle, the whole medieval stuff of this, as I said, I thought it was going to be comedic. Yeah, I thought it was going to be comedic. It wasn't really comedic at all. It was very serious, and I just loved as soon as they went back, people were dying, and that did not stop until they got back to the future. It was just like they made the medieval time feel really like you didn't want to live there.
Like we said already, it made you fear, like if you ever thought, I'd love to go back and live in medieval times, it's like you wouldn't. You'd be a peasant, definitely. Yeah. And like the only thing the hierarchical system of that
is horrible.
Yeah, they would kill you if you did anything wrong. If medieval knights, you suddenly just turned and then ran from them,
they're going to kill you.
They'd probably kill you anyway. So.
Yeah, because there's not laws are very different back in those days, and but I like that. I like that it made it feel. The only thing they didn't really address was like disease and the smell.
I bet everyone stank.
They would have. Yeah. Like cleanliness would have been a thing. People would have had baths, but you would have had to.
But only the very wealthy and.
Well, because you'd have to preserve water, I guess, and people would be washing clothes in rivers, and it's just like people would stink. And like we were joking about Gerard Butler, like his character choosing to stay there with Lady Claire, and it's like. I want to stay here because this smelly woman, she's taking my heart.
Everyone smells so good. Sweet.
Okay. I'm
ready for this.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I hate everything. 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 I hate you.
What?
I hate you. Come here. Will, get.